Jacklyn's funny. She's a trip. She comes rolling in on the Rumble Strip. Rumble Renegade. Jacklyn knows she's got it made. 'Cause even when she can't get laid, Rumble Renegade. It's the Rumble Renegade Show with your host, Jacklyn Metcalfe.
Hey everybody, this is Jacklyn Metcalfe. Welcome to Rumble Renegade, and as you can tell, I am not live on video because I have a special guest for you guys today who, getting them here in studio wasn't possible. So, who do we have today? I've got him on the phone. Who do I have?
This is Remii Perez.
And Remii, why couldn't you make it to my nice little studio here?
Because I live out in California, or because we haven't invented teleportation. One of those two.
Oh my God, you're right. Either one of those are really good answers. And that's actually how we met, wasn't it? In San Diego specifically.
I was going to say, do we meet in the teleporter?
The teleporter, no, mine broke.
Yeah, that's how those things work, They're like a one-time usage thing, and nobody believes you otherwise.
And you lose parts of your body too.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so
I have more fingernails than we thought.
So Remii, like he said, he's out of California, so obviously he couldn't make it here. So we are doing audio only today, and like every show, we are starting this off with 3 random questions. And because he couldn't be here, I selected for him. And the first question we have today is if you could have any single Hollywood celebrity be your slave for the weekend, who would you pick?
I'm going to have to go with Bill O'Reilly on this one.
Really? All right.
Yeah.
So why Bill O'Reilly?
When he was on TV, he made that great comment. He was like, hey, the slaves had it pretty good when they were building the White House. And I'm like, yo, Bill, I can get you to build a White House in a weekend for sure. Just you and me? Yeah, let's do this.
Wow. I missed that comment. That's craziness. He should build a White House. I mean, I've tried to build shelves, and that's a nightmare. I couldn't imagine trying to be in those conditions and build a whole freaking house. That wasn't even a house. That's like a museum.
True.
Yeah, so I'd have to agree with you. That was a pretty messed up thing. So the other question, and by the way, he did not pass on not one single question, you guys. I mean, he's just down for it. And some of these were kind of deep. So what is the worst punishment that you have ever had to endure?
The worst one. All right. My daddy, he really didn't have to put his hands on me a lot as a kid. I'd mess up here and there. I might get a smack outside the head just to be like, hey, pay attention. But he only spanked me twice, and it was just when he couldn't get there needed to be some sort of other punishment because verbally nothing was getting through to me. So he only spanked me twice, and the second time he spanked me so hard I pissed myself. Mainly,
what?
I was holding in a lot of pee beforehand. When you're a kid, you get nervous. It's like going on a roller coaster and you gotta pee.
Right. So what was it exactly that you got, if you don't mind sharing, what was it that you did so bad that you deserved to get spanked so hard you peed your pants?
Okay, so I didn't have any kind of clue of what I was really doing back then. I was just making the first observation, and for no specific reason, I had no malicious intent against this woman, but I had written to one of my sister's friends that oh, they're not hanging out with you because you're fat, and I didn't. In my head, I was like, there's only one difference between her and the others, and that's what it is. And this wasn't asked or anything. I just volunteered this information. Mind you, I never sent this letter out or anything. My dad or my mom found it, and she's like, you got to have a talk with your son about this. And in my head, I'm like, what did I do wrong? I thought I was a good boy. What's going on here?
Oh no! So
one of those moments.
That's terrible that you got punished for something that never actually came to light.
Yeah, but could you imagine, so in my head, in my kid head, I had no idea that this was wrong, So
right.
You need to have a relation with something. Listen, you might not know fire is hot, you might not know the stove is hot, but if you know glowing red things are hot, then eventually you're going to know don't touch glowing red things.
That's a very good point. Because
Yeah.
kids, that's why kids say things that you're like, oh my God, because it's so honest.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like my kid mind couldn't comprehend what I was doing. Like, imagine if that letter got, I could have psychologically fucked this girl up for a very long time. And thank God I did it. But it was something like I didn't know what I did wrong, so I just needed a relation. Like, hey, if you do X, Y, and Z, you're gonna get hurt. You're not gonna like the outcome. So, when you get older, you put that into perspective and you go, oh, okay, you can use words now and explain to me why these are bad. But back in the day,
You know,
I was too dumb to figure it out.
that's a really excellent way to put that. And you're not yet a father yet, are you?
No, 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 no.
See, now at least you gained in the hindsight you were able to gain something you can take into the someday being a father.
That's true. That's true. I definitely hope if I ever have a kid that they're really quick on picking up things because it's so much easier to explain things than it is to. All right, I can't explain it. I gotta hurt you now, dog. You're tiny, and I gotta hurt you. And I
See,
don't know what your limit is, but we're about to figure it out.
in my house, that was one of the things. I'm a mom. I have 3 kids, and I was not big on the whole spanking, but there were things that you would get spanked for. And there are 2 big ones. One, if your actions could have resulted in your own self harm or somebody else's harm,
That's good.
like physically. And
Yeah.
the second one is if you were lying, because in my opinion, lying is a conscious thing and you chose not to tell the truth.
That's very true. Yeah.
So I didn't do a lot of spanking in my house because my kids have always been pretty good about that one. And what do you think in the hurting thing, though? I could see how your situation would relate to that. Is this like they may not have understood that what they were doing could have hurt them?
Yeah.
So I'm going to keep that in mind. Not that I'm raising any more kids. I'm pretty much done.
Yeah. Everyone gets nieces, nephews, grandchildren, everything like.
Okay, so on to the fun one. When was the most uncomfortable you felt being nude?
The most uncomfortable. Okay, so I joined the Navy back in 2007, and it wasn't being in the naked showers for the first time with everyone. But I remember in A school, which is something that happens like right after, it's like a technical school right after boot camp. So
Okay.
we're learning trades, like we're getting more specific into the fields that we're going to work in. And then they still had group shower. And there was just this one dude who stood in there way too long. And it wasn't like he was like gay and just like eyeing all the dicks and everything. I think like he was kind of like a giant troll, like he was a real lanky guy. He slouched over, he had a big nose, real dumb expression on his face all the time.
So
But he had a dick like a cello.
I don't even know what that means. What does that mean? A dick like a cello.
It's a much bigger device than the violin.
Okay.
Shake. So he was much bigger than everybody, and I think about being in that room because like most people are growers, not showers. You're in the shower, no. But this guy was just sitting in there, just look how big my yo little dicks. Like he was just like an ogre in there, you know what I'm saying? And so that just made me feel uncomfortable. Like, listen, I'm fine being naked, but like around you, this is weird, like
Right?
it's just a weird moment for everyone else. You like stop smiling in here.
That would be creepy. I had no idea you were. Yeah, I don't know how I would handle that. Cover my ass and run.
No, you get what he's doing. You're just like, listen, dude, like, I'm not a fan of this, but what, we're going to fight in the shower? No, we're both naked. Like, I'm just going to walk out of here.
That sounds like something you would expect, like, in prison.
Yeah, you're probably going to see a lot of that in a lot of different ways, too, in prison. I'm assuming. I'm assuming somebody's going, hey, I ain't gay, but you got a nice piece, dog. And you're like, oh, thanks. Or, hey, I'm going to take that ass later, just to let you know. Just, hey, it's coming.
That's crazy. I had no idea you were in the Navy. Are you currently still in the Navy?
No. I got out in 2016.
So what made you decide to do the Navy?
It was kind of like a decision back when I was like in the 8th, 9th grade, when all the kids in California, they're like, oh, I'm going to go to this college. Oh, I'm going to go to this college. And I asked my folks, I was like, what college am I going to go to? And they're like, oh, we don't have college money. So, You could go into the military; they'll pay for your college for you. That's the only thing that we know about. But unless you got college money, like you could work at McDonald's for the rest of your life trying to get to college. But that just seems like you're burning the candle at both ends and not achieving anything.
That's kind of true. Although there are a lot of places now that reimburse you for college, like if you work at Starbucks. Did you know that?
I did partially.
I know,
Yeah.
like Amazon here does that.
You definitely got to know what you want to do. I think a good part about I'll say from my military experience is it taught me a lot of what I didn't like to do,
Okay.
and that geared me towards what I wanted to do because I thought I knew what I wanted to do, but then you dabble in it and then you go, oh, this isn't what I thought it was going to be, and then so I did a lot of that. I was around a lot of environments that I thought I was gonna like, and then turns out, oh no, this isn't for me either. So comedy was like the last venue where I was like, oh, this is for me. This all makes sense. This is everything I do want.
Okay, then that was my. That's interesting though, as how you came to do comedy, and I've noticed that like my daughter, she is currently getting ready to turn 20, and there were lots of things she wanted to be, like a dancer,
Yeah.
and then she got the opportunity, and it's funny how you think you know what you want until you get it, and then it's not what you wanted at all.
Yep. I have the same relation with women in different hair colors and different like games like goth chicks and stuff like that. It's like I like the look, but all this depression that comes with it, I don't know. If I
Oh my
like it.
God, that's a good point.
I like it at a distance, but
Right, you like to look at it. It's eye candy.
yeah, everyone would love to be in space at one time, just floating around, but nobody wants to spend their entire lives doing the astronaut gear up.
Right. I would have to agree with that. So, what made you take the stage for the first time?
Um, I watched like a lot. Like I was watching comedy since I was a kid. It was just like it went from like cartoons on Cartoon Network to stand up comedy. Those are the transitions. Slowly, I just moved into more Comedy Central stuff, and so I watched that for a lot of years. And at one point, I was watching a bunch of Netflix specials back to back to back to back, and you start to notice how the jokes, the premises, are very similar. A lot of people talk about dating. A lot of people talk about just like the scariest times in their lives. Some people talk about when they got high, something like that.
Hmm.
So the premises were all very similar, but I got to see how different comedians handled the topic. And some of them, like the best levels, were just like, oh, wow, this is amazing. You took it in like 11 different directions. You made me think about things I never thought about before. But then I saw like the worst comic, and the worst comic was just kind of,
Hold on, you cut out,
all
love.
right,
Are you moving around?
a little bit. My phone is balanced, so my face moves.
Okay, so you'll have to repeat the last part.
Okay.
What
Yes,
didn't work?
I saw a lot of comics on Netflix do the same premise, and then they took the joke to different areas. But like the least of all the comics, the one that I didn't think really put effort into it, they essentially just presented the premise, and then they didn't put any like tags, punchlines, no real effort into molding this bit. It was just kind of like, here's the premise. What do you guys think about that? All right, moving on. And
Okay.
what's that?
I said, all right.
Yeah, and when I saw that, I thought to myself, okay, I can do that. Like, I could be that guy. That guy got paid a lot of money to be on Netflix
Good
to do
point.
those bare minimum jokes, and I feel like I could do better than that.
Yeah, I did. The first time I saw you, you spent 5 minutes talking about dogs.
Yes.
And the thing is you wouldn't think that 5 minutes of somebody talking about dogs would be interesting, but I found it very fascinating, and it was very funny because it was very true, and I think what I think that's what it boils down to is the truth in it is what makes it funny.
Yes. Yes. On my dog bit, that I'm still working on this one, but I kind of hate when people use animal bits. Like, I wonder what my animal's thinking. Oh, it looks like this. It must be looking like that. And I go, you're not even remotely close to what your animal's thinking. Like, clearly, you're food. It loves fucking. It loves running around grabbing stuff. There's not a lot going on.
Right.
And a lot of people are just not paying attention to that. They think, oh, I keep this animal trapped in my house. I don't care about that. It's my pet. I don't let this animal have sex. Like, I don't care. It's just my pet. And then they go around talking about, oh yeah, I love my animal. I'm like, no, you don't. Like, you're the worst person to. If an alien caught you and made you sit in a small room for the rest of your life, feeding you kale and not letting you have sex, like how frustrated would you be? And you live to be 109.
Yep. I mean, because they don't even have, like us wonderful humans do, the ability to hit up, porn and toys. And I mean, well, I don't know. I've seen dogs utilize
A little
legs,
stuff, yeah,
pillows. I mean,
yeah. They'll pick up. Let them go to town for just a minute.
you know what? I'm gonna give that one to you. Keep it. Now you can show them how they utilize the world of their own, of turning things into sex toys that we would have never thought.
And oddly enough, like originally when I wrote the joke like maybe a year ago, and it was just about the sex toys. It's just like, yo, give your dog a sex toy. And then slowly I started writing backwards, and I was like, okay, let's talk about the nuts getting chopped off, the ownership of the dog, our relationships with dogs and stuff. So it's a fun bit to see.
It is. So if you guys are out in San Diego, you definitely want to look him up and check this bit out, even if it's like at like an open mic, because I thoroughly enjoyed it and I got a little bit of time to hang out with him. So what usually you don't have? See, I was a good girl. You don't have any crazy story about how you met me, do you? No.
Well, how I met you?
Yes.
No, we
Yes.
met. You ran out afterwards, and you're like, hey, and I was like, hey.
Okay, well, let's just admit it. I was running him down trying to, get his number. And I got it. Ha! That was supposed
Is it ever hard for women to get guys' numbers?
No, not really.
I was going to say that's not a hard feat right there, though, is it?
No, not really at all. But yeah, most of the time people get up on here and they'll be like, oh, you remember that first time I met you? It's usually, it starts out with, I was doing something really fucked up crazy.
Oh yeah, I think if I had watched your bit, maybe like your set, if I had watched your set beforehand, I don't know if you took the butt plug out on that one.
Oh,
But
Lucy, everybody. Okay, so there are some people in the world that don't like Lucy. As you heard a specific person tell me, I should dump her. And yeah, Lucy is kind of my pet.
yeah, we had another comic. He's an elderly fella, and he's kind of like a biker guy. So he's like I'm not gonna say he's real old, but he looks like the oldest of young men. You know what I'm saying?
All right.
And definitely a biker guy with the leather and everything. And for one of the bits that he wants to work on, he takes out a gigantic arm-sized dildo. And we were doing a workshop on like the bit that he wanted to do, and it's just like, listen, whatever you do, the second you take that out, that no one's gonna listen to you. Like they're just looking at that dildo. So you need to have all the words that are just talking about what they're thinking about. Like that's the only thing that you could really do from there. You're not, if you're telling tags and punchlines off of the dildo, you're gonna get a couple of people listening, but most people are just looking at the veins, wondering how you got it.
That's a good point.
At a person, or did you buy it yourself? Did you use it on yourself? Is that thing clean? I wonder what it smells like within an arm's proximity of you. There's a lot of things going through their mind, so they're distracted for sure.
Right. Which is why, Lucy is strategically placed at the very end of a bit and at the end of any show.
Yes.
Because otherwise you're right. She would take the stage and I would be literally upstaged by a butt plug.
Yeah, for sure.
And then me and her'd have issues and I'd shave her.
The only way that anybody could beat a butt plug on stage is if they literally showed their own asshole. That's literally the only way you could top it. And then somebody's like, listen, if you thought the butt plug was crazy, let me tell you, the tattoos on this lady, she had an octopus.
Yeah, I don't think that I want to upstage her. But, she's actually pretty funny. Lucy came about because I almost killed somebody with her. Which is not intentionally, it was an accident.
You know what would be, I wouldn't be mad at a prop if it was a butt plug, is if you had a puppet that was a sex toy. Like you could have a puppet that's a butt plug and you can make its mouth move and everything, and then it'd be funny to hear from the butt plug's perspective.
Oh my God, that's funny as hell. I might get a puppet made with an asshole just to show everybody exactly what this guy wanted to do.
A lot of educational moments for everybody.
You know, though, that is, do you have any ideas? Since I've been doing comedy, I have realized how naive I am when it comes to comedy. I mean, I didn't know shit. I mean,
You said you've been doing comedy for a little over a year now, right?
I have been.
Yeah. So yeah, a year's a very short amount of time.
It's very short. I have been very blessed in my year. So how long have you been doing comedy?
This is gonna be 4.5, a little over 4.5.
So you've been doing this a minute.
But even so, when you discover something new, when you think it's kind of like you know when you were in 8th grade and then you moved up into 9th grade, and like from 8th grade you felt like you were the shit, you were the king of the castle, you were the highest grade, and then you go to the high school and you're like, oh, you're the lowest grade again. You know, it's the same thing when you graduate from high school. You felt like you were the shit in high school, and then you go to college and it's like, oh, I'm the lowest of the totem pole again. It's like you're always gonna feel like that. The second you move to the next big pond, you're like, oh, I thought I knew shit, but that was 4th grade. You know, that was 4th grade ago. Now I'm in 7th grade. This is way different.
I would have to agree with that because, hands down, I think in this past year, I have learned so much more than I probably have learned in my entire life outside of school, as far as when it comes to like life experience and sex for sure. I mean, I'm freaking 40. I'll be 41 tomorrow. Shh, don't tell anybody. But,
Yeah.
and okay, hands down, I've learned how much I didn't know about sex, which is kind of odd.
And that's more a societal norm right there. It depends on where you're raised, by who. You know, most people aren't going to be educated because most people don't talk about it, and even when they're having sex, it's one of those things where it's like, unless you're open to discussing it, you got to be a real chill person mentally, naturally, versus being, you know, experience tends to make you ask more questions. Once you're there, you have questions now. But if you're just a naturally curious person, then that's probably just going to be in your nature. But most people don't ask unless they're like, hey, are we allowed to talk about this? Because I thought we just did the thing. I didn't think we talked about it or had a review on it.
That is actually so true because of the fact that yeah, lots of people. I'm just curious, how old are you?
I am 30. I turned 30 in August.
Well, shit, you guys, I missed the boat. I thought he was way younger.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing. I went through a period of time where I looked 2 years older, and then now I'm slowly catching up to my age where I look a little bit younger.
Now, you know what's really funny is I was out there last week, right?
Yes.
And it was in the 60s. And then in the evening, it gets fairly cold in San Diego. And being as close to Mexico, you would think it would be super warm down there. I was expecting to be able to like don shorts and t-shirt, and that was not at all the case.
Oh yeah. When you said you were in the 60s for a second, I was like, yo, this girl is way older than 40. If she lived in the 60s.
No, I didn't live in the 60s.
You see, it was back in the 60s. When
No, I changed it up on you because that's what I do. I just randomly roll with stuff that pops in my head. So the show's basically very ADHD.
I gotcha. So it was 60 degrees. 60
Yes,
degrees.
it was 60 degrees, and I was not happy because it wasn't very warm. Do you know what the temperature is today here in Indiana?
I'm assuming 20.
8.
8. Oof.
With a wind chill of below 0. I literally thought I was going to get frostbite this morning on my fingers when I was loading up the equipment in my car.
In boot camp or after boot camp, I was in Chicago, and it was negative 32 with the wind chill.
Uh-huh.
And there was a gentleman in front of me who spit a loogie, and it hit the wind. The wind carried it around. Mind you, he's in front of me. He spit the loogie forward. It swooped around, and it hit the back of my right leg, and it froze on my pants.
Oh my God, that's disgusting.
Yeah.
Did he know he did this?
I mean, yeah, I was like, what? Instantly, my reaction was, what the fuck? Looking at it, it looked like a egg over easy, you know?
You're gonna make me vomit. That's so nasty.
That's a slight image right there. It's just slight, just more green eggs and ham style. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my Lord, that's just wrong on so many levels. So, where's the furthest you've been? I mean, how was Chicago?
Chicago was pretty dope. I wasn't really doing a lot.
You're moving.
I went to Chicago later on, or not really Chicago, but more Illinois later on. A friend from the military, he hooked me up with a security job up at this nudist colony. I forgot the name. He didn't even tell me it was a nudist colony. He was like, "Hey, there's an adult film convention, adult entertainment industry convention happening. It's a 3-day thing. Do you want to come up here and work security? You get to drink with the performers, hang out with them sometimes, and it's a fun time." It's like we run security. My dad used to run the security before he passed, so it's just me and my brother who run it, and I can get you in. And I was like, okay. Sounds cool. I'm up for it. This is also in a time where I was trying to say yes to everything. I was like, I spent a long time in my life saying no to everything. So I was like, fuck it, you need to put some stories on your storyboard.
Right.
So when we got there and I saw the silhouette of a man and a woman holding hands but no clothes on it, and I was like, watch everyone be naked. And then everyone was naked. Well, not everyone. Most of the people were naked. And it takes you about 20 minutes to get over it because you're like, if you're on the subway and you see somebody naked in the corner of your eye, your intention, you're like, naturally, your body's like, whoa, naked person. He's not supposed to be naked here. What's going on? Is he attacking people?
You mean they were naked on the subway?
I mean, in my dreams, you know what I'm saying?
In your dreams. Okay.
Or at least how I draw them out, you know? But,
okay.
But enough about me and my therapist. No, it was an interesting experience because you get really comfortable with everyone. Also, you see who's comfortable with themselves and what they do when they are comfortable. Like, most people that are comfortable being naked with themselves are people who just let their body go. They're like, I don't give a flying fuck. You know? So there's that. And then you get, like, out of maybe 700 people that were naked, maybe 30 of them were in jacked shape. Like, they were, like, you know,
worth looking at.
Yeah. And it also surprised me too, because they had like strippers there that would do like a stripper portion when they're just stripping on the strip poles, and you know most of them are like entertainers. You know, like they're high level from all parts of the world. You know, like they're in great shape. They're doing all these great moves, doing the moonwalk and stuff. But then you had some of the local talent, and like these ladies just had C-sections. They weren't in good shape. They were just walking around the stage. They weren't doing any tricks or anything. And you're just like, oh, there's levels to this. Okay. I forgot.
That is so fascinating.
Yes.
I bet that is certainly a memory you will never forget.
For sure. Also, I got to do a little technical security work for, what's his name? Ron Jeremy.
Okay.
Yeah, which also, little known fact, Ron Jeremy does stand-up comedy stuff every once in a while. I've seen him twice in San Diego since I've been down here.
That's cool.
Yeah, but when I was at the convention, he was like selling merchandise. And here's kind of my relation. When you hear one thing, you hear another, right? So I remember when the whole Donald Trump thing, grabbing by the pussy, came out.
Right.
And people are like, who does he think he is that he could just grab women by the pussy? Acceptable. And then, like before that, I had done security for Ron Jeremy. Before I even met Ron, I heard some of the performers, some of the ladies, talking to each other, and they were like, "Hey, be careful when you're around Ron. He might slip a finger or two inside of you."
What?
And I was like, oh, is that really a thing? Like, how does somebody just grab you, even if you're not like performing or on scene or whatever? Like, this isn't that kind of spot. But they were just giving each other tips because one of the girls was new, right?
Right.
So I was like, all right. So then I did his booth, like just protecting his table from his merch, you know, making sure nobody runs off with his merch and nobody like attacks him or anything like that.
Right.
And seeing his fan base, it is crazy. Like his fan base.
Are you moving around?
A little bit.
You got to stop moving around. You cut out, love.
Let me stay more still. I gotcha. So
his fan base.
His fan base is crazy. I saw dudes with camera, and they would just get all up in his face, and they'd be like, "Oh, Ron, do something crazy, Ron, do something," and you just see Ron standing still, like, "Okay."
But yet, they were warning the girls that he might finger bang them just randomly.
Well, no. Well, that was a different part. This was two performers far away from that table. This was just one girl telling another, like, "Hey, tips on Ron. It's great for pictures, but be careful because his finger might end up inside you." And I happened. But then when you see his fan base interact with him, you kind of see it because I saw a couple come up to him, a fairly young couple. They're like maybe 37, somewhere between the upper 30s,
Hold on.
and
Yeah.
the guy was, oh, dude, it's Ron Jeremy. I fucking love you, dude. And he's like, yo, you want to suck on my girl's titties? And she just popped her titties out. And Ron's like, yeah, you know me, I love titties. And so he just starts sucking on this girl's titties.
Just some random chicks. Oh my gosh, that is one crazy ass dude.
Yeah, it's not. So you just got to imagine if so many people are just offering themselves up. Like, it's kind of like a shoot your shot thing in that. Not to say that he's right for what he does, not saying that. But I'm just saying if somebody likes your position of power, they like it. They like who you are. You walk into a room and they're like, "Hey, you want to feel this vagina?" like who are you to be like, you know what? I'm never gonna shoot that shot. Like if that was pretty much anybody else, you'd walk into a room and you'd be like, you know who I am, right? And they'd be like, yeah, I do. And like, is it cool if I touch your vagina? Like, you're not gonna ask about it. You're just gonna be the rock star that you are, and you're gonna go for it. And if they push away, they push away. But if they don't, hey, that's. So I'm not saying right.
So do you think that's where Mr. Trump was in his position of power?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of women let him do that for sure. I feel like for sure he walked into a room and some chick was like, I'm trying to get to the highest level of money. Yo, grab this vagina right now. And then other women were like, listen, I'd rather him not grab my vagina, but if he does, then fuck it. I mean, what am I going to do? I want a career in this field. And then there's probably women that like slapped his hand away and try to make a joke about it. Like, oh, funny, like awkward people do. But, there's just, it's something that's not talked about. It's just like the whole spectrum of women to act like there's just one kind of woman out there. And then that's it,
Right, because I would have to agree. That's a really good conversation to have because I am a female. And I'm a bit, believe it or not, I'm a bit more reserved. And so I am not one of those that likes to be, I'm not a handsy person. I don't like to be grabbed or groped. And I do run across that and it makes me uncomfortable. But there are women out there that they don't mind that attention.
That's true.
And I think that you're right. Everybody kind of lumps all women into one kind of cookie cutter style.
Yep.
I think it's got to be confusing for men because men genuinely are running around like chickens without heads going, I don't know what the fuck to do right now.
I would say it is a little confusing for some. I would say you kind of, and this is why dating online is good, because you could talk about a lot before you interact with the person physically. So you can kind of get a lot of those, like, hey, this is as extreme as I get. This is as soft as I get. Where are you in this line? Are you okay with this kind of stuff? Are you not? Are you good with STDs? Are you checked? Have you been tested?
Right.
You can do all this stuff online, and it'd be perfectly acceptable. It'd be weird if you're like, hey, you keep my STD checks out of this. That gets a little suspicious. But but yeah, what was that?
No, you online date.
I was just saying. So like judging somebody, like it does take a little experience to see, like, if I lead this conversation in this direction and you pull back, I know you're probably not cool with a lot of other things. But if I open up the door for conversation on this topic, then it opens up the door for a lot of other conversations to have, which probably means you might be okay with something, or at least be socially comfortable enough to bring up what you don't like. I know a lot of women who are really reserved and they like to be kinky. They like to have sex and everything, but they'll tell you straight up, like, listen, just don't do anything with my butt. Like, I don't like anything back there. I don't want you touching it. Don't want you even looking back there. You can smack it every once in a while, but that's about it. Everything stays outside the house. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to play on the porch. You're not going to go inside,
See, and that's fascinating because in reality, I don't like those questions. And it's not that I don't want to have conversations about them. I'm more of I prefer to build a little bit of trust with somebody. And then once I've established that boundary of, okay, I know that this person is safe, that I can have those conversations. Like when I'm dating, if you start talking about sex, I'm over it.
Oh yeah, it definitely is a window of opportunity. There's always a context. If you're talking about, isn't that movie Space Jam pretty funny? Like, you can't remake Space Jam nowadays. And somebody's like, so what position do you prefer, doggy style or
right?
Like, You're not reading the room right now, you know?
And I think that's kind of the big thing is you got to learn to read people. And my advice personally, if you're going to online date and it comes to sex and women, let the female bring it up, because I think at that point it's pretty safe that they're okay and ready for that kind of a conversation.
And here's two parts to that. The first part is women. There are more women that like men to lead. When it comes to dancing, when it comes to choosing, they want the men to pick the restaurants. They want men to find the entertainment for the evening. They want men to be the entertainer for the evening. They want to know that this person can provide them the full shebang for their lifestyle, right?
Good point.
So for them, anytime a guy is waiting for a woman to do something, they feel like that's a submissive man. Oh, he was waiting for me to kiss him. He didn't want to kiss me. And so those kind of things, it's a weird scenario where women do want the guy to be more dominant 9 times out of 10. Not to say all the time. There's a large portion of the population that women are just they're just aggressive. They're just like, hey, if I want something, I'm gonna get it. I don't have time to waste. And I think again that comes down to social norms, and then also with lifestyles. So like if you're a businesswoman, imagine you're a CEO. You get maybe one day for a 4-hour period where you have nothing to do with work. You're always traveling. You're always working. You're always on conference calls, even when you're mid-travel, right?
Right.
And you get a 4-hour period to get something in just for you, not laundry, not anything. You're going to want some dick, right?
Fair enough.
And you're not going to want this guy to be talking about Space Jam or anything like that. You're going to be like, listen, I just need to know you're not a fucking psycho. You're going to respect my boundaries. You're clean. You're good to go. Let's fuck. All right? I'm not trying to find out where you live. I'm not trying to spend the night. I don't want you spending the night. This is a 4-hour period I get to myself. I'm a very busy fucking person. So I feel like for that kind of lifestyle, you see more of those aggressive women. Or even, older women that they know, hey, I'm close to death, or
close to death. All right.
Or somebody who's running out of options. Like I guarantee a woman who's missing one of her arms is less picky than a woman with 2 arms. You know what I'm saying?
All right. That's a very fair. That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah. So not everyone's waiting to make the move on them. But that's where everything gets a little bit tricky because, you do have a lot of Southern gentlemen. You do have a lot of guys who just like to do the chivalrous thing. And some women aren't attracted to that. Some women are just like, listen, I can open up my own door. I lift my own weights. I make my own money. I don't need that. What I need is to know that you're mentally stable. You're not going to be manipulative, controlling, abusive. So they're asking those questions, and the other guy is just like, hold on a second there, lady. Those aren't ladylike questions, and please quit burping at the table.
That's great. But I kind of agree with you on that too. As far as, there's a certain level of niceness that becomes, it's like you're a fucking puppy, dude. At least me personally as a woman, fuck that. I don't have time to train a puppy. Go away.
Exactly. When you don't got time to play around, you want an experienced player that's like, listen, I've checked you out. I know a lot of red flags when I see a lot of red flags. You're not those red flags. I feel like you're safe. Let's go.
Yeah.
That's a good evening.
I think I agree with you. I spend more time when I'm speaking to somebody trying to determine, are you a fucking psychopath? Are you going to try and manipulate me? Are you going to try and control me? Or are you just going to let me fucking be me?
Yeah. That's when... That's the big thing too when you talk about like being honest and stuff. If you can pick out a liar from a not liar, that's like the best skill because like the big manipulators, they're big on lying. They'll tell you whatever you want to hear at first. So you got to kind of see them be motivated to finding out that you're not this fake person either, right? So once you figure out that they're not the lying type, because those are the ones that are like, oh no, I'll never hurt you, I'll never hit you again,
right?
Or like, whoa, you haven't hit me once. Like, oh, that's my bad. I was just preparing for my future role.
Yeah. See, but it's actually pretty easy to determine whether or not somebody's lying to you, I've found.
How do you do it?
Well, one is ask them questions about their ex. And this is just from a standpoint as a female. If I am hearing from you how crazy your ex is and you're saying she's psycho and it turns out that all of the women that you have dated have been crazy, okay, something tells me that's off because it's never wholly one the other person's fault.
You're the consistent variable in this scenario.
Right. That doesn't fly. And so that means that, there's some issues with the opposite sex. So if I'm sitting there constantly saying like every guy that I've dated has been a complete and total psycho, and that's all you hear from me, that's not honest. That means that I'm playing a really big part in the psychotic.
Yeah, I'm into poking the bear, and I just keep getting attacked by all these bears. It's like,
Right.
well, just
Not
stop doing both those things.
not saying that there aren't people that you come across when you're dating that are mentally that unstable. It totally happens.
For sure.
The other thing is just if you listen, and I found listening is great because it doesn't take long to see and hear the inconsistencies in their words versus their actions.
That's very true. That's very true.
And then I think the third thing is when their reaction doesn't fit the situation.
Rationality. I think that's a big one. When somebody like they do something outlandish, but they play down how outlandish it is. Okay, she got upset. We got into this weird argument because I showed up at her house at 3 a.m, and it's just like, just let me in. You're like, what?
Right, and
No,
she's freaking out.
No, it's romantic. I've seen it happen in the movies all the time. I had a boombox out, all right? I broke her window only because she would have let me in, all right? But that anybody would have done the same thing. It's like,
Right.
no, are you crazy, dog?
Yeah, that is not normal behavior. So I think that that's been pretty telling about as far as whether or not somebody, but most of the time when it comes to people that are being dishonest, it's the inconsistencies because people will slip up. Nobody has that good of a memory to remember all their lies and keep them straight. It's just not possible.
Yeah, I'm kind of at the point now where I've kind of I've realized, because like I've been around a lot of women in my lifetime. I've been around a lot of women, and I haven't dated a lot, but I've been around them, and I've seen what they've said. I've seen how they act with their friends. I've seen what women act like when they have all male friends. I've seen what women act like when they have all female friends. I've seen the older. I've seen the younger. I see a lot of the social norms, and I go, I hate most of those women. I hate 80% of them. 20% chill as fuck. 20%, yes, I'll take a bullet for any of them related to me. Exes, whoever it is, they're just great women,
So
just
what makes them great?
because they're level-headed. They understand. They focus more on the why people do things than the what. So it's like, it's not that you gave me a gift, it's why you gave me the gift.
Right,
But a lot
right.
of people, they get caught up on the gift. They're like, I just want the gift. Just give me the gift. So it's like on Valentine's Day, everyone gets hyped up on Valentine's Day, on Valentine's Day, on Valentine's Day. It's just like, do something special in the middle of the year because you want to do it, not because you're forced to do it because of a holiday.
That is so true.
Yeah, and so when you see that, and I know it's very similar on the opposite end. You hear the horror stories that women go through with men, and I'm like, yeah, 80% of dudes are fucked up. Fuck those guys. I'm only cool with only 20% of the population. There's only 20% of us that are fairly chill. All right,
Right.
20. And I just look at, like, it's difficult. I remember I read this article. This woman wrote an article on 10 reasons why women should never have to go down on men ever again. And she just listed all these reasons, like the smell, the where it's at, how often you hit us in the back of the head, all this other shit, right? And then some dude wrote an article in response to her, right? He's like, 10 reasons why men should never go down on women ever again. And then he listed his reasons, and it was very similar. And then somebody wrote in the comments, you two are the worst people out there. You should never have sex with anyone. You're the worst. Like, no one should be around you, and that's how I feel most people can be. They're very polarizing. They're not aware of themselves. They don't spend a lot of time reflecting on the whys. They're just like creatures that just kind of swim with the stream, or they just, the whole if everyone was running off a cliff, would you do it? And it's like, well, I mean, truth be told, society has 80% of us doing it.
Yeah, that is so true. Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of us weird cows are on the side. Like, this doesn't, what is the objective here? And people are like, why do you ask so many questions? You're overthinking it, dog.
I see, and I think that I agree with you. You should ask questions. I find that people in general are fascinating creatures, even when they're crazy.
Yeah. I mean, for me, when I'm going on dates now, I want to get to the heart of your weird, the heart of things that kind of motivate you and stuff. And it does throw a lot of women off because they're used to the very chivalrous type, and they try to seem proper and everything. And it's just like, it's it's a weird perspective, especially for me to see the kinds of dudes that do that. You know, like the kind of guy who's like, a woman never farts, and it's like, what? Is that how you feel? Like a real woman never farts? Like some dudes are married to their spouse for decades, and they've never heard them fart, and it's just like, are you insane? You know they fart, you know they shit, right? Like, this is, you know this, right? So you ever hear people who go vegan from watching a documentary on how the meat's made?
I have heard there are people that have that kind of an extreme.
Yes, and I feel like that's that guy. If he had a documentary on what happens to vaginas, like through periods and all this other, he's not going to survive. He's going to be like, not only did I find out today that women fart, but other things happen to their front hole too. It's just like, no, you have to let everyone be themselves. You know, if you're going on a date, you should be relaxed. You should be your most average self. Don't try to prim yourself up to the best version of you. You know, that's not realistic. Be yourself. Be in sweatpants. If you look good in sweatpants and just the normal you, you should be good on a regular basis. You know.
Very true. Very true. See, now, as a female, um, I, from a guy's point of view, I get hit on a lot. I mean, a lot. By married men and not married men, all the way down to, oh my God, you are as old as my child. This is creeping me the fuck out age, you know? And so, how do you think that like changes the dynamics when you have like guys that constantly, because personally to me, it turns me off. It's like, I really am being nice right now, but I really just want to kick you in the balls and tell you to leave me the fuck alone, especially if I'm seeing the ring on your hand. I mean, I'm that kind of girl. I'm telling you, go home to your wife, you know?
Okay. You're saying for men getting hit on by women and for women getting hit on by men.
But how do you approach? How would you, as a man, approach females that obviously females have no trouble, at least if they've got, you know, basically anything between their legs? How do you approach a woman that maybe is constantly getting hit on anyway?
That's actually really difficult. That's where the biggest gray zone is, because even myself, even if I feel comfortable, my big thing is I don't like feeling like you think you're better than me or anything like that. Like, even if you're attracted to me or something, I don't want you to go, well, prove to me that you're worth my time. Like, you should want to be around me the same way I want to be around you. We should both be smiling at each other, flirting with each other. It shouldn't be me getting down on one knee, you know, wiping the floor that you walk on. You know what I'm saying? So
sounds like a perfect boyfriend to me, just saying. No, I'm playing.
Some women out there for sure, they're like, well, that's what a man's supposed to do. But if you look at a woman, you make eye contact with her, you might be a little awkward at first, like, oh, this is a public scenario, maybe she doesn't want to look at me, and she might be thinking the same thing. Oh, maybe I shouldn't be staring at him. But then if you look up again and you're both looking at each other, it's one of two things. Either A, you're doing something awkward that's grabbing her attention, and she's like, that guy has vomit all over his chest. Like, I don't even think he knows. Oh shit, he's staring at me. Oh, he caught me staring again. You know. That could be the scenario, or it could be like she is interested in you, but she's just the shy type, right? So you flash a smile. If they flash a smile back or something like that, then maybe that's your opportunity to go over there and say something. Now, granted, you can get shot down immediately, but at least you wouldn't be in the wrong if you explained it to your friends. Like, I could have sworn she was into me. Like, she looked away, she looked back at me, we both smiled, and then we had a quick moment, you know? So that's kind of the introduction. Or say you don't even make eye contact with the person, you just see them from a distance. You can go up to them, crack a small joke about something that they're doing, you know, make an observation, you know, oh, you're reading this book, or oh, you got that latte from this place. Like, if anybody's having a real interaction with you, it's because they're interested in getting to know you in any other capacity apart from that book, you know.
Thank you for that. That's useful information, because I'm terrible at discerning, okay, are you just hitting on me or are you being nice? You know?
Most guys, if they're talking to you, they're hitting on you. Unless you're really falling with something, like you're spilling stuff all over the place, you dropped a bunch of apples at the store or something, and then somebody's like, oh, geez, somebody's got to help this lady, you know?
Right. She's a hot mess.
He's not interested, yeah.
That's a valid, okay, good to know. So if guys, all right, see, and, you know, women don't necessarily get that information. Like, sometimes they'd be like, okay, like, I chased you down, so obviously you weren't hitting on me.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. This is the hard part, right? Because it's kind of like that whole what is it, hot girl for the prom, where everybody assumes that she's the hottest girl in the school. Everyone's going to ask her out. Who am I to ask her out? She doesn't want me. She wants whoever the top notch is, right? So nobody ends up asking her out because everyone feels inferior to the idea, right? So it's kind of like that when you see an attractive person in public, you go, "Oh, I bet you she's getting hit on all day long. I'm going to be the eighth person today to hit on her. She's just going to be annoyed by the idea of me hitting on her,
Which
right?"
is
So
that's so true because like in high school, I didn't date. People don't believe that, but I totally didn't date. And that would be why guys just didn't talk to me.
what's odd is like as many people that dated in high school, there were so many more that didn't.
Yeah.
We don't tend to talk about those people but we are the majority. Maybe you had a quick holding the hand session at one point in time, but most people weren't in solid relationships, you know?
Right? I think that's kind of what high school and junior high was. Your dating was walking to the next class and you're holding hands.
Yeah, you would hang around the person you wanted to be around more, and then you kind of flirt with them, and then hopefully something came from that. But again, you're so awkward, you don't know what to do, and a lot of people end up not shooting their shots. They don't really know how to go about it.
Right.
And I was like that person where I shot my shot the dumbest way possible, and I thought I nailed it. But in hindsight, I'm like, no, how is that ever gonna work? She doesn't know you like her. That's you're dumb, you know.
So what was the worst fail?
Oh, the worst. Okay, this was when. Okay, so other background story. I was homeschooled from the second grade to the eighth grade. So in eighth grade, I got to go back to public school, right?
Okay.
And this was somewhere in the sixth grade, I think, sixth or seventh grade. So I had friends in the area, and at church, but I didn't have like a big range of social structure. So you imagine Christian stuff. They don't teach you how to be with somebody. They
No,
just be like,
they teach
"Hey,
you the
God will
opposite.
yeah, pray and God will give you your perfect person." And it's just like that's the dumbest advice anyone could ever give. But
It's so
um,
true.
so I didn't know how to flirt or anything like that. But there was one girl, and I remember she reminded me of Topanga from Boy Meets World.
Right,
She
right.
had like big lips and everything, and I was just like, oh, she's super cute. And one day I was drawing next to my friend's house, and she's the next door neighbor to my friend. And her little sister comes up to me, and she's like, "Do you like my sister?" And in my head, I had that insecurity. Oh, if everyone finds out that I like her, they're just gonna make fun of me for it, and they're gonna use that against me, right?
Right.
But deep down inside, I knew her little sister was asking me because she wanted to know, but she was too shy to do it, right?
Right.
So my knee jerk reaction was just to yell out, "No!"
Oh
And,
no.
and I didn't even put together that if I just said, "Oh yeah, for sure," then I probably would have had a date. I would have had a girlfriend in the sixth grade for at least a day, you know. But in my head, no joke, the next word I said in my head nailed it. Like you got this in the bag for sure, guy. Like I
Yeah,
didn't
that's exactly how you tell a girl you like her. No.
no. No, it was just is the but no one ever taught me what to do, what connects to what. I had zero interaction in that method. I had no flirting expectations or teachings or anything. Nobody taught me. So yeah, it took me a good minute. Good thing I went to both school in eighth grade, so I could see kind of stuff close hand. And then I think what was it by 18, I got some of it figured out.
Some of it.
Some of it. I still learned a lot. I feel like when I turned 27, that's when I really got a handle on it because it takes you a lot to go around the neighborhood and you find out, oh, these people are lying about this thing. Oh, these people are lying about this thing. Oh, everyone's lying about everything. So if I just tell the truth, I'm going to stick out like a sore thumb.
Oh, hell yeah.
It's called refreshing. When they hear me say shit that sounds off the wall, they go, oh, but it's refreshing to hear this point of view. And I go, yeah, it's the thing that you share. You share this point of view. You just lie to yourself day in, day out and pretend that it doesn't exist. When people are dating and they say, I don't think about anybody else ever, it's like, that's a lie. Like
That's
you
totally a
split
lie.
capacity. The people who don't think about anybody else, like legitimately don't look down the street and be like, oh, that would be nice. You don't have to dwell on it. You don't have to fantasize about it. But if you look at it and go, oh, they're probably fun in the bedroom, If you really don't do that, then you're the kind of psycho that when your ex leaves you, you kill them and the kids.
That is kind of true. Although I want to interject on that thought of looking and, oh, I wonder what they're like. But I was married for 12 years. And my husband, he was absolutely amazing. And one thing I don't want to know is the thought that just went through your head.
Oh.
Y-
You
There
mean
are times when you need to keep that shit to yourself, and you never ever tell your significant other, "Oh yeah, well I think about what they'd be like in bed." No, that's just a terrible idea.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't share that. Now, here's where I'll go on this. Okay, this definitely helps. So this is like three levels. First one is the more you bring to the table in the relationship, the less things somebody has to go to somebody else for, right? So that takes care of jealousy.
That's true.
If you have 12 plates on the table and you fill 11 of them, you're pretty sure your ex or your spouse isn't going to leave you for a one plate. They might fantasize it, but they know it's so much harder to fill 11 plates than it is to get one, you know?
Right.
Yeah, you can get this chick, but she's probably just that one plate. She might have maybe two other plates, but she's no 11 plates, you know?
Right.
So the more you bring to the table, and I remember I thought about this when I was dating this chick, and believe it or not, dudes jerk off all the time, even when they're in a relationship and they're fucking all the time.
Yeah.
It's just simpler, right? I remember catching myself watching porn, jerking off, and then thinking to myself, like, stopping mid jerk and going, you know what? I'd rather fantasize about the chick I'm actually seeing right now, because like she's that badass. Like she's very open. She does a lot of kinky shit, and she's better than half of these actors on this thing, you know?
Right.
And so that's when it dawned on me, like, oh, you know, like you go to another place for food when you don't have that food available here. So it's just like, oh, I had that food available here. Why would I go to someplace else for it? You know. So the more you bring to the table, the less likely you are to stray away, and then you're less likely to fantasize about someone else. Like if your spouse is just like, oh yeah, you want to dress me up however you want. Oh, you want me to say something like that? I'll say it. You know.
Yeah, that's true.
If they're more open to that idea, you're going to spend more time thinking about what you want your spouse to do next versus the other girl across the street who does some of that.
Yeah,
You know?
see, we used to refer to that as you know how they always say the grass is greener on the other side.
Yeah.
Well, we changed it up and we would say, nah, that grass is just a different shade of spray paint.
Yeah.
Because basically that green grass is spray painted. I mean, people, it's a false look.
Yeah, the facade is definitely something we could pick out, and that's the big thing where you gotta. It helps when you and your partner are on the same page, but it helps even more when you and your partner aren't trying to be a facade. When you're just like, oh, the second I can tell that's a facade, what you're doing, you're faking confidence, you're faking interest, you're faking enthusiasm, whatever it is. I don't want that to be a part. I'd rather you be honest, so I can actually take in your mood, your what's going through your mentality, so I could adjust myself accordingly. Like my goal should always be to turn you on the most. Your goal should always be to turn me on the most, and then we should also try to get our rocks off in the process.
Right.
So it's a good twirl around. But if you're just like all about yourself, or you're not honest with yourself, or you don't care about their moods and what they like, then you're just gonna get a bunch of plates not filled. You know.
So how does that translate onto the stage for you with dating?
I don't. What do you mean? Do I tell jokes about dating?
Yeah, do you?
I used to tell more jokes about dating. A little bit about like crazies that I was with, expectations, but now I'm kind of gearing more towards I'm trying to find topics that I can use in like 5 years from now.
Right.
I don't know. 3 years from now, like if I stack up a 45 minute set, that's kind of, or by the time I hit 120 minutes worth of material, this is when I should be like a legit headliner. That's when I want to go, how much of this is based off of dating? Because most of my jokes in the beginning were about male and female, relations. And it's just like, okay, you could do that, but everyone has a bit like that. Everyone has a bit close to it, and that's not really changing. So if you're going to be on the topic, you really need to hit something that's deeper than just, a dating app. You know what people look like on dating apps? You know what this one girl said to me? So there was something like that. Like I used to have a bit about how women like danger. I was with this chick who did not give blowjobs. She told me that she had a bad experience with an ex, and I was like, oh, okay, you don't even need to say anymore. I'll never pressure you for a blowjob.
Right.
And one day I went to her house with her parents' house. Right. It was like a Christmas Eve kind of a thing. And they didn't have like a room available for us, so we slept downstairs where there was just like a curtain.
All right.
It was just a curtain. You could walk in on us anytime. You could hear most of what we were doing if you were in the right room. So we were next to the living, or we were next to like a dining room, which was next to the kitchen. And so her folks were in the kitchen, not in the dining room, but in the kitchen. And out of nowhere, she's like, "You should let me give you a blowjob right now." And my first thought was, your dad showed me his gun rack today.
That's great.
I'm a black guy. This is a white area. This is an all-white area, mind you. This is a part of Virginia that's 30 miles away from the nearest gas station. There's no phone signal. You know, I'm like, yo, this is like a real get out scenario. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know, and I'm like, oh man, this is fucking dangerous right now. And I was like, but I'm not going to turn down this blowjob, so go for it. You know, and it's just, that's one of those things where it's just like if you up the ante on the danger, you could probably get a lot of women who are just really down for anything as long as it's super dangerous for you, you know?
Right.
Like I had a fear that one day she's going to be like, you should let me and my friend blow you right now, but we got to be quiet.
This sounds like a porno in the making.
For sure. But her parents had to be in the tent sleeping next to us, you know? Like, this is real risky, but you know me, I'll take that shot.
Right? You're like, oh, hell no, I ain't passing on this shit.
But there are definitely women who are addicted to danger, but 9 times out of 10, it's just because it's dangerous for you, you know? Women don't tend to stay in prison, and the prison system doesn't tend to be like, fuck women, you know? It's mostly on the men's side.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know that I'd be all down with the danger shit, though.
Yeah, not everyone is. I would say most aren't. Most people aren't asking for crazy shit, but there's definitely a breed of woman who does, you know.
Although this is coming out of the mouth of somebody whose expectation is to bungee jump into the Grand Canyon out of a freaking helicopter and who has gone skydiving. And no, I'm not into danger at all.
Yeah, consequence, and you felt real close up. Like when you're in the scenario, you then ask all the questions that are relevant, and you're like, "Do people ever fall off of this?" And you're like, "Yeah, one time," you know. You know what I saw a while back? This is like, I don't know how long ago this was, but there's a picture of this dude who went bungee jumping, and he was wearing a white shirt. It looked like a collared shirt, like a business kind of thing. You know how they like business exercise. We're all gonna do something that scares us today, so we could all bond.
Right.
So they went to the extreme, and this guy bungee jumped, but he shit his pants on the way down. And so he just had shit running all up his back, dripping off. And you know how the bungee jumping is.
So bad. That's terrible.
Yep. Just twisting in it, just sitting there in it, just like, oh God, you know he had to quit his job. You know
you have to. You'd never live that down.
Never live it down. You know, he gets the job transfer, and people are like, oh, you know, Jim, he's trying to get a job here. What's your recommendation? You're his last boss, and his last boss is like, oh, you know, just be careful with Jim. You know, he's a real cannon under pressure. If you get what I'm saying.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
I would never. Yeah, I would change my name, relocate to a different country.
Yep. There's pictures on it online. I saw it. So if I saw it, God knows how many people saw it on his end.
Right? So I'm going to bring us back to comedy because we're going to be getting down to like the last 15 minutes, and I haven't got a whole lot to dive into it. What is your the greatest stage you've ever been on?
The greatest stage?
Yeah, have you ever... Yeah, it just clicked.
Okay, I'll say there's 2 stages that I like. One is the most fun, and the other one is the biggest one that I've been on. There's the Courtyard in San Diego, where the show fits close to about 500 people that could be around there. I think there's about like maybe 150 in the crowd at the time, which still it filled
That's
up.
Big.
Yeah. When people aren't sitting arm to arm, it can still fill up pretty well. And so that's like the most that I've been in front of at one sitting. But I only got to do 7 minutes, and it was supposed to be clean because it was during the daytime, and they had a dog park there and some kids. And what really bugged me was later on, the people who went after me, they just got more and more aggressive and dirty. And then the headliner, he just didn't give a fuck. He was just like, first I'm going to talk about pubes and dick and balls and cum and shit. And it was just like, okay, this is not fair. Like, I could have done way better with 7 dirty minutes than I would have done with 7 clean minutes. But it was all right. But it was still fun. Still very fun. Definitely the biggest crowd I've been in front of. But there's a brick room that's in the back of, or it's called the brick room. It's not even brick, but it's in the back of the madhouse, and it sits about maybe 35 people, packed, maybe close to 40 if you really, really squeeze it in. But it feels so intimate. It's like you can talk about anything. You can talk your shit. It's super comfortable, and things go further. You're breathing on each other, so most people are paying attention. If nobody's paying attention, or if somebody's not paying attention, you can easily call them out, you know. So it's really fun. It's that intimate setting. It feels like what real jokes are. When somebody gets a fun experience, they're like, "Oh, I love that. That's live comedy." That's what I think is live comedy. Not when you're just saying the material out loud, but when you're interacting with the people. You're being funny on the spot. You're interacting with their interaction, and you're telling material. That's my favorite.
See, and I'm hands down. I might have to agree with you because anytime you can incorporate the audience and do what they call crowd work, I hands down I think that is a way better experience because I think it's more personal.
Yeah.
So I would see why you would find that room to be amazing. So who's like the coolest you've ever gotten the opportunity to open it up for?
Um, the coolest, I would say Ali Makovsky, but I bombed.
Isn't that how it goes?
Yeah, I ate all the dicks that day. Just rolling downhill, eating all the dicks. And to some people, it wasn't the worst set ever, but for sure, every person after me did so much better. I think 75% of my jokes hit, and even my last joke didn't hit. So it was just like, oh, dude, I'm drowning out here. It was brutal. It was brutal, but it just made me reevaluate my material and my stage presence and everything like that because they came with the expectation of seeing somebody big and they didn't know that juniors were going to be out there.
Oh, I gotcha.
Yeah, so when my junior ass got out there, they were just like, "Oh no, we're not feeling this." Most of it, like my A game hit as a C game or B game, and it was just like, "Oh, dude, that's not good," because most of my work at that time was just C game. So my C game got nothing.
So you paid attention to the second time I hit the stage was at that down there in Ocean Beach.
Right.
And okay, I ate a dick that night
Wait,
at that one, which was fine. I mean, some people laughed, which was great, but I played that video back and I was like, oh my God, of all the sets that you watched, why that one? Oh my God, that was great. Because I literally, when I listened to the video back, I forgot like half the jokes. So when the punchline hit, it didn't hit because they didn't have any idea the context of what I was talking about. So have you ever had that happen to where you got like half the joke out, went to hit the punchline, and realized later that, fuck, I didn't even tell the joke right?
It doesn't happen too often, but every once in a while, I will forget a specific word that works for the set, and then if I do forget that specific word, it's like, oh, now you're just saying a sentence. You're not saying a funny sentence. You're saying because sometimes a sentence is funny, but it's how you say the sentence, and if you're missing a word or you're missing um, what's the word? Like the rhythm. If you're missing a cadence to it, then it fucks up how the sentence itself would just be funny to hear. So it wasn't even a strong like punchline oriented joke or anything, but it was just like a sentence that needs to be said a certain way, and I didn't say it the certain way. And then also the same thing when you got a punchline at the very end of the sentence, like here is the punchline, this last word. You laugh at this word, and then you fuck it up and you say the word, but then you add like 11 more words into that sentence, so you don't even give them enough time to really laugh at it.
Stepping on your jokes, yeah.
Yeah, so I've done that a couple of times. I got to see that live. I forgot the name of the comic, but he made a joke on stage. He's a big headliner, well-known guy. And he had a joke about Obama, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he was in San Diego, and he was like, "Oh, you want to hear?" He said something like he had this whole premise, and he accidentally said Trump at the end. He did not say Obama, but we all could tell he meant to say Obama, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, "Oh, is this part of the joke?" So the whole crowd is watching, and they're like, "Oh, is this supposed to be ironic, or is this? Did he mess up? What's going on?" And because we were all silent, he was like, "Oh, y'all don't want to talk about Obama, right?" He's like, "Oh, y'all not a political crowd, huh?" And we're like, is he not aware that he fucked up?
Yeah, he probably had no idea he fucked up.
Yeah, and then the next second he's like, "All right, talk about politics then. I thought you guys were better than that." And then he just changed the topic, and we're like, "Oh, he really doesn't know. He's gonna feel like a fool when he listens to this later on tonight."
Right? So do you have what has been your best way to like recover, if possible, from a scenario like that?
If I say something, okay, so if I mess with the wording and I don't realize it, there's no real strong way to recover because it takes you by surprise in the sense of like, oh, this was supposed to work in 11 different ways and fail in 10, but I didn't fail in any of those 10 ways. I failed in this a new 11th way, which I wasn't expecting. I've done this a million times. Why is it failing like this? And then you're trying to evaluate yourself while also evaluating what's different in this scenario. So the best thing you can do is go, all right, you know what? Let's just move on then. You know, like if you don't like this part this much, you're not gonna like any of the rest. You know, like I could start digging a hole, but why dig a hole when it's just better to bury it with something better? You know?
That is so true. And I think that that's kind of where there are a lot of comedians who say, well, if it's going really good and you've got a really good laugh, just cut your set. What's your thoughts on that? Because I disagree with that personally.
It depends on the scenario. So like, here's one thing: if I'm on somebody else's show, like a legit headliner, not just some local guy or whatever, but like somebody who's really trying to do something tonight. I don't like to fuck up the crowd. You know, I'm just a local. That nobody paid to come see me. I'm just fortunate to be on the show and make people laugh, right?
Right.
So I shouldn't try to storm the crowd. I shouldn't try to make them tired. I shouldn't try to kill them and make them feel uncomfortable. If any, I should try to keep the crowd laughing and then go. That's my thing. Is just buy time until this headliner comes on and does the real thing. You know, so it would be a dick move of me to bring the mood down. Like if I'm going up and I feel like, hey, this is a good set. If I leave here, it's a good mood. And then I know that if I continue, because I know that my material, I know the crowd, and I feel like, oh, it's only downhill from here. I don't have better jokes, or it gets too dark, and I feel like this isn't a crowd that likes dark, or I haven't played dark. I don't have enough time to go from lighter material to darker material because it's just going to throw you off. Oh, they thought I was the light guy today, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So then I'll probably say end it there. But if it's your room and you don't have to follow kind of anybody's rules, it's like a showcase show. Fuck it, you know. As long as you're not walking the room, like nobody likes to walk the room.
Right.
That's real disrespectful for the people who are going after you. But one, if you're the headliner, if you're the last guy on the showcase, fuck it, right?
Right.
Or if there's nobody in the crowd, fuck it.
See, now I've run into situations where like somebody may have like that was supposed to be there, but for some reason they weren't able to. I've been asked to go longer because maybe the headliner's not there yet, or so you really you could be put in a position if you're expected to be up there regardless of being paid, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, I'll say I personally haven't been involved in that. There's a lot of comics out here. A lot of the bookers kind of have their game packed down on who they're going to pick for feature acts and middles. So at best, I'll probably get the opportunity to be like an opener or do a quick 5 or something.
Okay.
Personally, I haven't been put in the position to have to stall for time. I have been put where the headliner didn't show up, and they're like, "Listen, just do as much time as you want, and then call it a day." And
right.
So it was like a charity benefit for this animal that's like in Africa or something that's going extinct, thanks to poachers. So it was a packed bar. There's like 50 plus people in there, and so at the time I probably had like maybe 11 solid minutes, and then I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go through my other jokes. So I did about 15 minutes, but those bits weren't really finished, and even now looking back, they're still unfinished bits. But
okay.
But at the time, it was just like, oh fuck it, I'll just do all of it and see what hits. And they were just happy to hear comedy, so really I didn't feel like I could fail.
That's good. So, yeah,
I did about roughly 15, and it was fun. It was fun.
Well, we're coming up to the end of the show, and I got to tell you guys, that was like my outside of doing Chicago, and I mean I've done my locally, the states attached to me. You guys out in San Diego were really freaking amazing people. You guys were. It was a great experience. So if any of my listeners are comedians, you should totally check out the San Diego scene. You're also really close to LA. And I appreciated your guys' hospitality for me because I'm just kind of a snowball. I come in, I do my thing, and then walk out.
Most comics should be that way.
But so when are you heading this way? You have any plans to come to the Midwest?
Probably not right now, but I feel like because right now I'm still working. Okay. So even though I've been doing comedy 4.5 years, there's some time off there. So I feel like more like a second grader than I do a fourth grader, you know. But I'm building enough material, enough stage presence, enough confidence where my networking's coming into play, where I'm going to be granted more opportunities this year. That I feel like as long as I continue to write the way I'm writing, which is really picking up recently, I should be able to be a strong feature act by the end of the year, or at least a decent, as far as like traveling to other places and everything, I don't foresee that happening within like the next year, but maybe the following year, or the year after. And yeah, Indiana. I don't know anybody in Indiana right now, but hey, if
You know me.
You guys got some worth a flight out.
Sure,
Yeah.
absolutely. I got some stuff coming up here really, really soon. I'm starting the show in February, which I'll talk about on another show because I don't want to tell anybody quite yet. But it's already got some venues already booked, so it'll be. Huh?
I said that's what's up.
That is it. What's up? And you know what? Bringing somebody in that has a cool demeanor and can talk 5 minutes about dogs and have it be entertaining. You can't go wrong there, right?
Yeah, if I can make dogs entertaining, imagine what I can conjure up with other topics.
Oh, that's what you were going with? Imagine what topics you could now that you led me down that rabbit hole, motherfucker.
I can make paint drying semen with spray.
So everybody, if you're in San Diego, where can they catch you at?
Any of the major comedy clubs, or at least for now, the open mics. But if you know about any of those smaller shows, like the Tiger shows or the Whistle Stop shows, I feel like at some point I might be able to hop on one of those within the next few years. But yeah, or who knows? I might just jump up to the major comedy venues, places like the American Comedy Company, the Comedy Store in La Jolla. I mean, right now I'm just an open micer. In all reality, I do shows every once in a while, but there's no way I can be like, yo, consistently you'll see me at this spot doing this show. Like, I don't get booked like that just yet.
But you were absolutely a fascinating interview. We learned so much about you.
Oh, that's what's up. Thank you. Thank you for having me on, by the way.
It was my pleasure. All right, you guys, I'm going to sign out. We will see you guys next week. Keep your eyes and ears open. I'll be posting all my guests coming up. Have an amazing day and peace out, motherfuckers.
What?